sure that you sign in the chat box, okay? What I would like all of you to do is to mute your mic, because unfortunately when your mic is not muted, yeah, whatever's going on there, let's make sure everybody but me has a muted mic. I actually believe I could force you all to have your mic muted, but I don't want to have to do that. What happens is if your dog comes into the room you're in barking, or a child comes in or something like that, we don't want everybody to be disrupted by that. So if you would mute your mic, I would appreciate it. And my husband has my corgis corralled downstairs, so I'm not going to try to be a violator of that rule either. Okay, again, please sign in the chat box so I make sure and give everybody that small amount of credit that I promised. Okay? I am recording this session so that I can go ahead and put it in to the D2L class tomorrow for both of my online sections. You will only get extra credit if you're actually here. For those people that have not been able to attend either one of the orientation sessions, they will be allowed, of course, to watch the orientation through the D2L recording. So I hope that's okay with everybody. Your picture might accidentally appear kind of over on the right-hand side and small. It really shouldn't be a big deal. But if you don't want your picture to appear, you should turn your camera off at this point. You won't need your camera on. Really, the only one that needs it on is me. So I'm going to take about 30 minutes to go over some basics of how you do this class. And after I do that, then I will open it up for questions. And then, of course, you can unmute your mic and you can ask me some questions. So I'm going to start out, and sadly, it is not really possible for me to do this in a very linear fashion. So I'll be kind of jumping around. All right. So I want to show you my screen. Okay, can you see the screen now? This is your D2L class. And I'm on the page out of basic course references, that is the class policy, and that's where I want to start. Basic class policy is very simple, all right? But I want you to understand that assessing your grade is not as simple as simply adding up a bunch of grades and then dividing by the number of grades. It's more complex than that. So I'm not going to read this to you. I'm just going to go over a couple of things. The digital textbook that you have in the Pearson product, okay, and I believe almost all of you have signed up for the Pearson product. If you have not done so, you definitely need to get that done as soon as possible. Your text is in there, okay? It is possible to buy loose leaf text at the bookstore, but as long as you're comfortable with an e-text, you really don't need to do that. I'm going to look at that Pearson, that course in a few minutes. But for what you are required to do, that's where your textbook resides. That's why you needed the MyStatLab access code. Earlier today, I contacted a couple of people who were in the MyStatLab course with a temporary access. You can sign up for it even if you had opted out when you went and paid your fees. Some people will have opted out because they had gotten bad advice that you should opt out so you can confirm your schedule and it won't matter because you can get a temporary access code. Yes, you can. But here's the conundrum with that. One is that you cannot opt back in at the $75 rate unless you opt in by the 6th of September, which is right around the corner. That's why I'm trying to catch everybody that has a temporary access code. If you intend to stay in the class, you need to opt back in, at which point your access will go active and permanent, but the college will send you a bill for that $75, okay? If you don't opt back in, then on the 11th of September, you will be dropped from the digital course. And what will happen is, to get back in, you will have to pay the retail price for that access code, which is $126. You may not want to pay the $75, but it's a hell of a lot better than paying $126.
You hear this, teacher?
Yeah. Could you mute your mic, please?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so be sure that you are in with, you opt back in if you had opted out, and everybody has a permanent access code. Now again, I already contacted a couple of people today who were on temporary access. So, you know, I will try to catch it for you. I will try to keep anybody from being caught in that position. But if you think that you opted out and you might be in there with temporary access, then please check with me and I'll check it out for you. In addition to the access code, which gives you the digital text, you need to have a calculator. The calculators that are required is anything out of this family that you're seeing there on the screen. That's a TI 83, 83 plus, 84, or 84 plus. I believe I can show you what it looks like. So other calculators that may have statistical functions will not do, because all of the handouts about how to use the calculator for doing statistics are based upon this calculator. Now, this is a fairly expensive calculator to buy new. However, if you have the financial aid, it covers, some financial aids will cover it as if it were a book. You can also find these things fairly frequently in pawn shops. But if you buy from a pawn shop, please understand that you should force them to show you that it works. Because I've had students in the past that have bought the calculator at a pawn shop and it didn't work. And you have no recourse. I have no influence with pawn shops, so you know, if that happens, I'm very sorry. But the main problem with the calculator turns out to be that people will get the app for it on their phone, okay, which is fine, except that you then can't use that calculator on tests. The testing center policy will not allow you to have a phone during the test, okay? So I don't want that to happen to anyone. You need to have a physical calculator if you want to use it on tests. Okay, people coming in, please mute your mic. Please mute your mic because we can hear you coming and going. Okay, so let me go back to my screen. This is the grading scale. This is not like what many of you had in high school, but it is the department policy. There will be 5 regular unit tests, okay? So the first unit is chapters 1 and 2, the second unit is chapters 3 and 4, etc. And there is a mandatory comprehensive final at the end. Your lowest test score is automatically dropped, okay? That means that each of the remaining 4 tests and the final exam count 15% of the grade. That means that tests in general count 75% of your grade, and the other 25% is made of your lab activities that help you to learn to use a statistical tool called StatCrunch. StatCrunch is also embedded in the Pearson course, and whether you go through Pearson to get to StatCrunch or you go directly to their website at www.statcrunch.com, you will use your Pearson login to get to StatCrunch. And you may use StatCrunch on all tests. Okay, it's on the desktop of all the computers in the testing centers. All tests are taken in a proctored environment at our testing centers. Now, If you are a remote student, which means that you are living so far away from the campuses that you cannot conveniently come in to take a test, we can make arrangements for you to test in a different proctored location. So I already know we have a couple of students that are testing in Nashville because they live in Nashville. And what happens is I make that arrangement. We identify a center that has a proctored testing location like Ball State or Nash State or something like that. But I've got to be honest with you that almost all of these testing centers will charge you about $25 per test to take. Sorry, it's a real advantage to take them at our location where they are. It's free for you to take them. All of the tests have windows in which you can take it. So on your schedule, it tells you the first day that you can take the exam, and the deadline date is the last day you can take the exam. Okay, I'm going to show you the schedule here in a few minutes. The 25% of your grade that is lab activity, all of those lab activities are here under this tab on the top banner that says assignments. There is an assignment for every chapter that we cover. Now, I can open this assignment tab, but the problem with my doing that is it doesn't look like what you see when you open yours. But when you open yours, there will be an assignment for Chapter 1. And in fact, Chapter 1's lab assignment is due next Tuesday by midnight. So what you do, they're all Word documents. So you download them into Word, you do the assignment, type in your answers, okay? If it requires that you put in a graph, if you do the graph in StatCrunch, you'll be able to copy it and paste it into the Word document. All right, I assume that since you're all taking this online, you're all competent with using Word document stuff, okay? So after you complete it and before the deadline, you drop it back into the assignments area. And again, I can't see how you upload it because mine only looks like the instructor side, but it is not hard to do. Everybody figures it out. Those things are 25% of your grade, so try your dead level best to do them well. What they do is cover the portions and the important objectives from every chapter, and the tests you take in the units look a lot like those lab assignments. Okay, so people say to me, well, is there any extra credit? Yes, there is an extra credit or optional thing you can do. When I go and show you the Pearson course, which many of you have already signed up for, so you kind of know what it looks like. But when we go to that, you will see there are assignments there. These are optional questions. In fact, let me just see if I can go there. Where's Pearson? Okay. So you should still be, why couldn't you open my course? Sorry, still trying to get there. Pearson, when you register for the Pearson course, the Dobbin 51783, you will see that inside there, if I ever get there, hopefully it opens this time. Yeah, it looks like it's going to. There are assignments. These things are optional. Ugh, I don't know why it's saying that. Come on. Pearson is kind of overloaded right now, so it's having a lot of trouble. You have a lot of trouble getting there and stuff. That actually always happens when a million people are trying to register for the courses and stuff, and it smooths out after the first couple or 3 days. So I guess I won't be able to show you the assignments, but what happens is for every section, there are a few questions in this assignment thing. If you do all, and I do mean all of the problems that have been assigned for the course, then you will receive a replacement score for your second lowest test. Now, I mean, not accusing anybody of trying to shortcut, but I can tell you what I have seen over time. People decide, well, I don't want to do the optional thing, which is fine. That's, you know, you're adults, that's your decision to make. But if you decide 2 weeks from the end of the course that, wow, I really kind of need that grade to replace this crap grade that I have, then go in there to try to do all those problems. Man, there's a lot of them. And there are a lot of things you won't remember. It will be very hard for you to do it at that point. And I always check to make sure that people haven't just gone in there and substituted ridiculous, you know, nonsense answers in there in an effort to get the credit. Okay? So I can tell you, I look at it closely, and you have to have done all of the problems. Now, you don't have to have gotten every portion of every problem right, but you have to have legitimately tried to do all of these problems. And I really do look before I reward that credit. So that is the one really big extra credit thing that you have. A smaller extra credit thing is for you to go to the virtual tutoring. So since Pearson is having so much trouble, I'm going to go back to your D2L class and show you that there is a schedule for virtual tutoring sessions. There will be virtual tutoring 5 nights a week from 6:30 to 8:30, Sundays through Thursday. And your D2L class has a virtual tutoring schedule already up. This virtual tutoring will begin next Tuesday night. Tuesdays is my night, and it will be conducted very much like this. The platform is Zoom. You would come on using this link, okay? And it's like being in a tutoring room. So think of it as if you walked in and sat down at a table and I'm there as the tutor. All 5 of the people here teach this course. We're all faculty members at the college. So you don't have to use me. You can use any of the others. I keep the roll of people who came and asked questions, and you do get a small amount of extra credit for using the virtual tutoring. But it's really handy anyway, because many of you will have full-time day jobs. And so this is an opportunity at a time when you might be more available to actually get the face-to-face tutoring. Now, the rule inside the tutoring room is that I take a question from someone, one question, complete it, move on to the next person. You can't come in there and think because you were the first to get in there that I'm going to sit there until you're satisfied. Think of it like exactly like it would be if we were in a tutoring room. It would only be polite if I answer your first question and then move to another person and answer their question. I'll get back to you. A very common thing to happen in the virtual tutoring is for people to actually just sit there and listen to my interaction with other students, because often you all have the same exact problem. Okay, so you can get a lot out of simply, you know, seeing what they're doing. Okay, so those are your extra credit opportunities. All right. Again, all of the tests are proctored. There are no online class, although typically the 5th test is open book, in which I will take several versions of the test and I will split it up among the class and I will email you the test, and then you will complete it as a Word document and email it back to me. All of the chapters are in units, so all the unit materials are over here. So chapter 1 units covers chapters 1 and 2. And inside each unit, you have a checklist. This should be very helpful to you to make sure that you are doing all that is necessary. And so basically what a checklist tells you is the pages in the text that you should have read, and directs you to perhaps supplement your reading with some of these other things. So inside of unit content, you will find PowerPoint slides for that chapter. You will find chapter notes. You will find handouts for how to do various things with the calculator, handouts with how to do various things with StatCrunch, and there will be Camtasia videos and lots of other things, okay? So before you give up on something or decide you can't do it and need to go ask someone, give yourself the chance of going through a bunch of that material in there. A lot of times there's a whole lot of it. In fact, one of the most common issues people have is saying, hey, there's nothing in there for chapter 5, and they didn't notice that there was a box at the bottom that said load more, right? And when they loaded more, they see that more of these things come up. So there may even be content that is below what you can actually scroll through and see when you first open it. This thing reminds you to do your stat lab assignment if you're doing them. It reminds you to do the lab activity. Okay, so if you download these checklists for every unit and you do everything on there, you should be in pretty good shape. Okay, when you do your lab assignments, 2 minutes after your lab assignment is due, I'm having trouble getting back. Come on. 2 minutes after your lab assignment is due, a key for that lab assignment becomes available. Those keys are down at the bottom of that scroll list. Can you see it right here? It says lab assignment keys. Now, I'm the instructor, so I can open any of the keys, but for you, that stuff will be locked until 2 minutes after the lab is due. So at 12:02 next Wednesday morning, the assignment key for chapter 1 will be available for you to check your work. Now, that's why I can't allow late submissions. If you think you've got a heck of a good reason for submitting late, then you need to email me or call me and let me know what it is, and occasionally I'll make provision for that. But in general, if your assignment has not been dropped back into the assignment area by midnight on the day it's due, then you don't get credit for it. Okay, and then there are final exam reviews here too. So there's tons of stuff in here, right? And I haven't gone through everything. For example, there are links to the testing center hours. You need to know when that testing center is open, because there are 5 campuses and they're testing centers at each one, but they're open different times. The one thing that I do want to look at on the overhead is this schedule for the fall, so you can see it. Okay, so you should be able to see that now. This you should print out full and keep it. You really need this, because you notice it's where it tells you that the first chapter's lab assignment is due back in the D2L class by midnight on that Tuesday after Labor Day. Okay, it also tells you that if you've got everything ready and you want to test, you can take test 1 as early as September the 16th, and you must have test 1 taken no later than Saturday the, I think it's 26th. No, 28th, I guess. Okay. Now, notice that that's a great big test window, but as you get further down in the semester, they get shorter and shorter. The usual test is a week. So test 4, there's a week window. Test 5 is open book. The final exam, you've only got, it's slightly less than a week to take the final exam. It's between a Monday and a Saturday. If that presented a problem to anybody, I would let you take it early. But you must have it taken by December the 7th, which is technically the last day of classes for the semester. The reason you don't take it during finals week is because you guys are spread out all over, right? And I have to get all the tests back and grade them during finals week, and that takes several days. So the last day to test for the final is the 7th of December. This gives you a pacing guide, so if you actually worked on these sections on the day that they're on this, you should be able to work your way through the class pretty easily. In fact, the entire thing here is to keep pacing yourself, not wait to the last minute to start the lab assignments, not wait to the last minute to study for tests, right? That way of doing things, waiting to the last second, is the most common way people fail this class. They just get horribly behind, and when they start doing their assignment or studying for their tests, you know, they're starting without even having read the chapter or done any of the work, and that's terrible. Now, if you want to make an A in this class, you also do those optional problems in the Pearson course, because those are very instructive and they'll tell you a lot. People who use virtual tutoring always seem to get better grades too, because when they have a problem with the material, they go and they ask those questions. Okay, so it's really pretty straightforward. All right, so I'm sorry I can't show you much about the course in Pearson because it's just not working very well right now, but I will tell you that one of the things that you can get to through Pearson, but can also get to through its independent website, is StatCrunch. If you go to StatCrunch through www.statcrunch.com, then what you see on its front page is, well, I'm signed in, so you will see right here in this box the sign in. You use the same sign in as you use for the Pearson My Stat Lab. And you will use StatCrunch a lot in those lab assignments because it's a very good way to learn to do the problems and to avoid the crunching of numbers on a calculator. I'm not saying that you can do everything in StatCrunch. In fact, you can't. But StatCrunch is such a powerful tool that if you learn to do it, you will get a much better grade in the class. So you can make statistical graphs here, and you can do all sorts of statistical tests here. Again, in the lab assignments, you will have the opportunity to practice these skills. StatCrunch is available for tests, but you are not allowed to bring in instructions for how to use StatCrunch. So the way to learn to use it is to use it. It's like any other tool, you know. So what you will typically be allowed to use on tests are your calculator, the formula sheet that is embedded for the Larson book, and again, you know, I'm just having trouble showing you anything in Pearson right now, but if you go through the stuff in Pearson, one of them says student resources or something like that, and inside that are the formula sheet for the Larson book and also the tables for the Larson book. Now, I will tell you that I always attach that when I send in my test to the testing center. So if you don't have yours with you, they can give you one. But what they will not allow you to have is any additional handouts or notes or anything like that. So it's a test, you know, you can't take a bunch of notes in there. But you don't have to memorize formulas and certainly don't have to memorize tables. In fact, we will use tables very little. So let me see if I can actually find this. Okay, it might be in course tools. No. Tools for success. Okay, well, yeah, there's some things in here. So this is in Tools for Success, and you'll see that there's a whole bunch of videos and stuff in here about StatCrunch, but also there are the key formulas and tables for your text. That's where those formula sheets and the table sheet. I mean, when you had to buy a physical textbook, it's in there, right? But since you guys are using a digital text, you would want to download these two things. Okay. All right. So this has not been very, very friendly here, but this is where your e-text is. I'm afraid to open the link that says e-text because I'm afraid that will kick Pearson back out. But there's also a thing to StatCrunch, and again, fingers crossed, maybe I can see the assignments now. No, it's not loading the assignments, but that's okay. All right, so, oh yeah, there they are. Okay, so I'm just going to show you one of them. There's 10 questions. If you're doing this part for extra credit, pacing it, then each one of these only has 7 to 10 questions in it. It's not that hard. It also has all of these help aids right here where it can take you to the pages in the textbook. It has a little video overview of this section and other resources. To get full credit for this, you need to open each one of these guide things as well. But you don't have to actually look at it. You can just open it and close it. It will give you the 1 point. These are the 10 problems you need to do, and of course, they're homework problems, so you'd have to actually work them out. Okay, so let me go back, if I can, and I'll go to the presenter window. So, questions from you guys. You can unmute your mic, and if you have any additional questions, I'd like to hear them. Nobody has any questions? Okay, Stephanie, you've raised your hand, but I can't seem to get back to the video for some reason. Okay, let me see if it stops here. Okay, there we go. All right, can you type your question into the chat line, please? Or if your mic's working, just tell them, ask it to me. I hear tapping, but that's all.
I have a question too. That what you just had open was the extra credit?
Yes, it was.
Okay, thank you.
And hey, we've been exchanging emails all day, Ariel. So
yes, we have.
Hi to you.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Okay, and Stephanie wrote, test 5 is open book. Yeah, generally, does that mean we take it home? Okay, what it means is that I have 5 versions of the chapter 5 test or the unit 5 test. What I do is I randomly assign a test to each person in the section, okay? And I email you that test through the D2L email, okay? And I do that on the day that it says it opens, okay? Then notice you have slightly more than a week before you must return it to me. So you download it, you finish it, and then you upload it back to me, okay? And you can send it back to me by email, and I grade it then. One thing, most people have no trouble with the download of a Word file, completing it, typing in your answers, pasting in your graphics, and loading it back up. Occasionally, people have issues. The people who have most issue with that are people, no, it's not timed, are people that have Macs, okay? Please send your assignments back as Word documents. Format is .docx or .doc or as a PDF file. If you send it to me as a pages file, I can't open it in my office, which is very aggravating, okay? And it makes me do a lot of extra work to look at it. So what I will do is I will send you a note saying, resubmit this as a Word document, as a docx or a PDF, okay? The other thing that you can do is there's an app called Cam Scanner. think that's what it's called. I have it on my phone so I can actually look. That app allows you to scan the pages of your document, and then it saves it as a PDF, and you can send it to me that way. I'm okay with that, although if you do that, use your best handwriting. I do not try to parse out when I can't read the handwriting at all. I just count it wrong. If I can't read it, I can't grade it. So if you decide to send me something with a CamScan file, that's fine, but please make sure that it's legible to me. Okay? Okay. So anybody have any other questions before I close this out? No? Okay.
Just hold on.
Sure.
The lab assignment, that's something that we go through Brightspace to get to, and then we download it. And
no, the lab assignments are in Brightspace. Yes, you go to Brightspace. The lab assignments are under a tab. It's in the upper left-hand corner that says assignments.
Okay.
I mean, I would show it to you, except what happens is that my version, the instructor version, doesn't look like your version, so it confuses people. But if you open it, there will be one available right now that says Chapter 1. You just download that thing by clicking on the arrow that looks like it's pointing down. One of your options will be download. Download it, save it, do it, then upload it again before the deadline for Chapter 1, which is next Tuesday at midnight. Okay. Melissa asked, virtual extra credit. You mean for the virtual tutoring, I assume. Okay. You don't have to go to virtual tutoring. It's just an opportunity. And what I do is I give a nominal amount of credit for people that use it between test dates, right? There's not a fixed number of times that you have to go in there. It's just, an option. So if you go in once, or 10 times, you get the same small amount of credit. What I find is that people that go and use virtual tutoring like it, and they use it over and over. I mean, typically in a semester, it's the same 10 people that use it over and over. Okay? Okay, so William asked, is the final, no, the final, that's a good question. He asked if the final can be dropped as if it were another grade. No, the final is mandatory. The final does not get dropped. The one thing that absolutely gets dropped is your lowest regular test score, except for the final, all right? And you can drop a second regular test score by doing that big group of assignments that are inside the Pearson product, the MyStatLab product. Okay? Anything else? Uh-oh. Somebody wrote something. Okay. StatCrunch will be available on the desktop in the testing centers. And you will not have to go to it. It's an icon on the desktop. All right. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm gonna let you guys go. I'm gonna check and make sure that I've got everybody's name because a few people entered after I started talking.
And one more question.
Sure.
Even the StatCrunch, if you're not testing on campus, it's still available at the other testing centers?
Who am I talking to?
It's Shannon.
Oh, okay, Shannon. I have talked to the people there at, I forget what it was. It's a part of Vol State, isn't it?
It used to be called something Vol State, then they just recently changed the name of it, yes.
Yeah, but I told them that I wanted that on the desktop of your machine when you took it, and they said that was fine.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, if that's all, I'll see you guys later. I have to leave this open for a few minutes while I make sure that I've got everybody recorded so that you can all get the little bit of extra credit for coming to the orientation. But you may go if you don't have any other questions, or you can hang out with me for a few minutes.
Thank you.
Up to
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, see ya.